everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us this morning for Ignite Your Network and Breakfast Avocados. My name is Olivia Blackstock. I am one of the board members for PRAL Central. Oh, is that a pause? I see hands. Okay, not sure. So thank you guys for having us this morning. I'm super excited to introduce our amazing panelists who have joined us this morning. They are from the Gulf South region. So we're spread out through the 3 states, Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana. So we're really grateful to have everyone here with us this morning. And I am going to give each of them a brief moment to give us a little introduction about themselves. And Kristina, you're first on my screen, so I'm going to let you go first if you don't mind.
Great. Thanks, Olivia. I'm Kristina Hendrix. I'm from the Public Relations Council of Alabama. I have been a member of that organization for nearly 15 over 15 years. Yes. So I got my start in public relations at the University of Alabama, where I got my degree there, and then obtained my APR in 2010, and then went on to get my master's in 2012. And from there, I've worked in aerospace and defense and worked at NASA and Army and for a defense contractor for a number of years. And now I'm the vice president for strategic communications at the University of Alabama in Huntsville.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristina. We're super excited to have you. Ginger, if you want to go next.
Sure. I'm Ginger Guttner. I got my APR in 2010, just like Kristina. Got my master's degree in 1997. I'm a communications manager at LSU. I'm a member of the PRAL Baton Rouge chapter. And I just made 21 years here at LSU on April 1st. When April Fool's Day is very easy to remember my start date. So I've just been here a really, really long time.
You do a great work there for us, always keeping us entertained. Awesome. And then Kristie.
Hello, good morning. I am Kristie Aylett, and I am a member of the Public Relations Association of Mississippi on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, which makes me a member of the Southern Public Relations Federation, which is how I know all of these lovely people. And I have been a member of PRAM and SPRF for just about 20 years. Before that, I lived in Texas, where I worked in Fort Worth, graduated from TCU with a journalism degree, went to work for an agency. Then I went to work for local government as a public information officer, and then to the University of North Texas Health Science Center Medical School as their director of marketing and communications. But somewhere along the way, I fell in love with a South Mississippi boy, and we moved down here, and I have been self-employed ever since that decision. And I have clients from coast to coast. And I've taught at TCU, and now I teach at Tulane.
Thank you so much, Kristie and Kristina and Ginger, for your instructions. These lovely ladies have been very involved in their local chapters and statewide, and then even regionally for Southern Public Relations Federation. So we're super excited to have you guys here to kind of pick your brain on how your chapters have shaped your career, how they've benefited you, your network. And so we are gonna just kind of focus on those questions, but I know we also have a lot of questions about the APR and that accreditation process and what that has done for your career as well. So we'll kind of get to that in the end. But we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna give some questions for you guys. And then at the end, I'm gonna leave for about 10 minutes for the audience to ask you guys any questions they may have. Does that sound good? Awesome. Okay, so I will start with just Kristina, I'll ask you first. So for you, what first attracted you to your local organizations? How did you learn about the public relations organizations?
I think you
Did
said
you say Kristie or Kristina?
I think I said Kristina, or yep, sorry.
Wait your
easy.
turn, Kristie.
We do it all the time. And
We do it all the
so
time.
yeah, I will say I started working, my second job at college was at NASA and at Marshall Space Flight Center. And if you know anything about working in the federal space, you are behind the gates, you are on a post or a base or something that is just very insulated to where you work. And so I had no PR friends other than the people that I worked with at Marshall Space Flight Center. And so you're learning from the boss, which is awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. But I wasn't getting that professional development that I really felt like I needed to get. And so joining PRCA in the North Alabama chapter was important to me because I wanted to learn from other practitioners around the city of Huntsville and in North Alabama. I thought it was important to go to those meetings and to learn from people and to honestly make friends. What are some of the challenges that they have and some of the challenges that I have? And it is different when you work in the federal space or you work in higher ed and everybody, and that's only the people that you know that work in that. And so wanting to be able to join PRCA, I think that was important to go to those meetings and to get the perspective of other experts and practitioners that are at different levels in their career, folks who are early in their career, people who are mid-career, and folks who are headed towards retirement and that can tell us all these great stories of all the things that they did when they were working.
Thank you, Kristina. Kristie, did you feel like you had a similar experience when you were
Well,
attracted?
I relocated.
Oh, that's true.
So, I built a career in Fort Worth and I had a great network. Am I freezing? So I had a great network in Fort Worth. And then when I moved down here, I knew no one. And so by joining PRAM, I developed a network and got to know people and became involved. Those people that I met through PRAM are my best friends. That's PR people are my people. But going back to Fort Worth, and why do you join a professional association? And sometimes you have to pay your own dues, and you're like, oh, why do I need to do that? But looking for your first job is easy. You can tell everybody that you're looking for a job. Looking for your second job has some challenges because hopefully you're employed. And how do you tell people that you're looking for another position? How do people know that you do a good job when you can't use your boss as a reference? So all of those things, a professional network, you need to build it before you need it.
That's a great point, Kristie. That's something that I think, I've starting to kind of go through as well as, I'm earlier in my career and now it's at that point where I may be looking to transition in a few years or so. And using PRAL and SPURF has been one of those things that I'm like, okay, well, this is a great way to build my network to kind of showcase my skills and kind of get to know other people and what opportunities are out there. And that can be difficult to do if you don't have these professional society and relationships with others. So really, that's a really good point. I like that you mentioned. And then Ginger, what about you? Did you have anything that first attracted you to PRAL, or did you just kind of fall
Well,
into
I
your
think
lap?
like with Kristina and Kristie, like I really didn't know anybody when I first started. My undergrad degree is in English. And so, I mean, while my master's was in public relations and all, was at a nonprofit, very small, local historical society. And so not a lot of money for things like dues. And I didn't even know PRAL was a thing when I worked there. And it wasn't until I got to LSU where one of my supervisor at the time was like, she had heard of PRAL and she's like, you need to go to these meetings. And I was like, okay. And honestly, the first thing was we had the meetings at Jubin's, which is a really good restaurant in Baton Rouge, a place that normally like I wouldn't go to on my own, like super fancy. So I was like, ooh, fancy lunch. So full disclosure, it was actually the food that I was like, okay, cool. And then got there and sort of dove head first and still have not emerged You know, I've been on every, yes. Well, I was about to say, we've all been president of SPURF. We've all served multiple years on the board of SPURF and our local chapters. I'm still on my local chapter. I think,
Yeah.
I don't even, they actually made a category for me because I was trying to get off the board. I think I'm the historian now, which is really, that's almost insulting, but it makes me feel old. But they made up which is flattering, but they made up a job.
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
they couldn't
true
let you
story.
go. You're too valuable to go. But that's a great segue into my next question, which is, could you kind of tell us a little bit about your journey in the public relations industry and how your involvement with these organizations has shaped your career? And Ginger, since you were talking about it, I'm going to let you take that question first.
So, well, like I said, when I first joined, I had no idea like how involved I was going to get, and how important it would be, because you just don't think of it in those terms. And Kristie and Kristina both, already kind of said this, but when I think of both my local chapter, my state chapter, and SPURF, it's about basically I have an army of colleagues that I can call on. Like I know I could call Kristie, or either Kristie or Kristina, or I could call you, Olivia, like on a Sunday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and be like, hey, so I have this thing. I need advice, or I need to, bounce something off you. And I do the same thing. I have a group of veterinary school communicators and that's great because that's my, my little niche. But it's good to talk to people that aren't in your industry just to get different ideas, because you can get kind of, it's very insular if you're, that can be dangerous. And so I know that when I see things like Texas A&M's vet school had a bit of a PR problem a year or so ago, and I emailed their comms director and is like, hey, hang in there, let me know if you need anything. But I know I could do that for any member of any of the chapters. If I had a problem or just wanted advice, I'm fairly certain I have contacted both of them for advice for things. And they could do the same thing with me. And it wouldn't even have to be someone that I know. Like if someone just emailed me and say, hey, I saw you speak at, SPURF. Can I ask you a question? I'm not going to say no. You don't get in PR because you say no. We actually say yes too often. It is a blessing and a curse, right? We always say yes. That's why I'm doing a webinar at 8 o'clock in the morning, because I say yes.
And we thank you for saying yes to
Very
that. Awesome. And then Kristie, if you want to go next.
Well, there's one thing about joining an organization and a whole nother level of involvement that you're learning about becoming involved and serving that organization. And so when I joined a PR association, I was like, oh, I'm just going to go to these lunches. They're good. And then I got to serve on committees. I got to know people. They encouraged me to become accredited. I became accredited. That led to other opportunities. And then when I lost my job, my first call was not to my family. My first call was to my PR mentor to say, oh my gosh, I never thought I'd lose a job. What does one do in this kind of situation? And so my next job, I was recruited for by my PR network. And so when I moved to Mississippi and became involved in PRAM and the local chapter, that led to clients, that led to other service opportunities. Kristina and I now serve on the Universal Accreditation Board, which is 9 PR organizations. I would not know any of these people if it had not been through PR associations, not my work. But now when I need something in Louisiana, I have people I can call, and I have a client that I focus on media outreach in Louisiana. And that's been very crucial to my being able to produce results for that client. And I teach a 2-lane. That would have never happened. So that's the benefits of becoming involved so that people know that you do good work, so that people know that you can be relied upon, then that's priceless.
I'd say that when I first got in and started working and being involved in PRCA and SPRF, there's certain levels and layers to things in life. And, I just kind of thought I'll just jump in and, join at my local level, maybe become an officer at some point. And then I got my APR, and then that just kind of skyrocketed me. Because there were a lot of folks that saw me at SPRF meetings. They're like, she comes every year. We need to get her more plugged in with us. And then I kind of got in that little circle. And then back home, going to work and people seeing like I was really engaged in the community, and I wanted to make sure that I did the best that I could as a PR practitioner. And the job before this one, I was at NASA, and I was not interested in leaving. I had no desire to leave. I was fine with what I was doing. It was a great job, and I loved it. I worked in launch vehicle development and promoting rockets. So I mean, it can't get any better than that, honestly. And my the protocol officer at NASA's husband was a CEO of a company in town, of a defense contractor and aerospace company in town. And she had the comm plan that I wrote for one of our tests. And she took it home, and she's sitting on the couch and she's reading through all of it. Because I had everything stepped out from what we're doing in internal comms, what we're doing in external media relations, social media protocol, like everything that everybody had to do. And she told me that she was sitting on the couch and she's like flipping through it. And he was asking her, he's like, what are you looking at? And she said, oh, it's the comm plan for our engine test that we're going to have out in Utah. And he's like, well, who wrote that? I was like, oh, Kristina Hendrix wrote it. It's like, do you understand it? And she's like, of course I understand it. What are you talking about? And so later on, I got a text message like, somebody's going to call you. And I had known him forever because was the center director of Marshall Space Flights there, and he moved on to be a CEO. And so I got a phone call from his number two guy, and the first words he said to me was, "Congratulations on winning the Professional Achievement Award for the state of Alabama." So he knew what I was doing. He knew my body of work because I worked for him before also. I mean, it's a small community. So I worked for him, and he was like, congratulations on winning that award. And I was like, oh my goodness. So he even knew what was going on in the PR world, even though he's an engineer. So I say all that to say that, our world is so small and people do know each other, but they recognize the hard work and the effort that we all put in as PR practitioners. And I think that is what's helped me in my career.
That's awesome. I know that working with engineers and people outside of our industry can be intimidating at first. But I do know that having a network of PR professionals to go to for advice, or, just be like, oh, this is the frustration I'm having, has been critical even in my work and what I do, to be able to bounce ideas off of, get feedback, get ideas from. And in turn, those people, like Kristina, you were saying, they can become allies, and people, they start to recognize your worth and what you're able to do for them and what their work is. And that's really important and something special that I think comes with being involved with professional organizations as well. So kind of changing gears just a little bit, Kristina, I know you talked about community and being involved in your community that came through being involved in PRCA and SPRF. So what would you say, like, what are some ideas, or not ideas, sorry, events and things that you got to do within your community that you attribute to those organizations?
That's a hard one for me. Because I work in a city that is so federally focused. So a lot of people have no idea what PR people do. I always make the joke, and I shouldn't make the joke, but I had a boss that used to say years ago, I just run your Twitter. I mean, she would always make that as a joke. Like when someone would say, well, what do we really need these PR people for? It's like, I'll just run your Twitter. And my joke was always, well, if you just want to plan an ice cream party, call one of us, because that's all it seems like y'all want to do. But if you want something more strategic, then you really need to call the leaders and those of us who are in public relations, because it seems like that's all y'all want to do is ice cream parties. And that joke has kind of fallen around in Huntsville. And I don't know if it's a good following or a bad following, but I do get executives in town that are like, we really want someone who's not going to plan an ice cream party for us. And I'm like, dang it. Like, I opened my mouth too much, but they get it. They understand now. And so I think some of those events that we have that are important, like this weekend, we have the NASA Human Exploration Rover Challenge. It's the old moon buggy. So if you think about back when people were roving on the moon and the moon buggies, and y'all seen all the videos and the pictures of Neil Armstrong and that, we have a competition that's held at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center every year. It's the 31st year. And students, high school students and college students around the country and around the world can bring their rovers, and they go through this challenge. They also have to, write papers and everything on it. Shameless plug, my university, UAH, is going for a three-peat this year. We've won it 5 times in the 30 years. Okay. So I'll be looking at that. But I say all that to say that PR people have really gotten involved in those types of events in town because they want to show the rest of the community why it's so important. So it's not just, the engineers are involved in it. So when I worked at NASA, I was an on-air commentator for NASA TV for Rover Challenge. And so there's a lot of activities that we do in our community that I think a lot of executives, engineers, business people, they now rely on PR people because they know that if they want to get something done, go call someone who's busy. And a busy person is usually a PR person.
That's very true. And I think when you were saying that, it made me think of, when I post something for a client or an organization and I share that with my network, the first people that engage with it and that helps spread that awareness in the news are my PR colleagues from PRAL and SPERF. I mean, you guys are the first ones to share the opportunity, and I think it's very reciprocal, and it's because we all know that we're in that space together, and so we help build each other up and kind of use each other to, share messages and create that network, which I think is wonderful.
Can I add one more thing to that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we were working on a project, and my leadership team was kind of asking, oh, well, we need to spend all this money, go to a consulting firm, ask them to write a survey, all this kind of stuff. And I said, you know what, why don't we just call up about 5 or 6 PR practitioners that are in town? And, if you just let me buy lunch for all of them, we can hammer that same survey out in 2 hours, and you will not have to pay all that money. So it was all said and done. We got it all written. We did it. We had a great time. We sent it off to the board of trustees and everybody, and they were like, this is awesome. Why have we been paying for this other nonsense for years when all these people, and all it was Adam Kelly, who was a former SPRF president. He's a PRCA president. He also served on the UAB, the chamber vice president for communications, a couple other folks in town that I just knew would be excellent. And they all walked in the room. And the funny thing about it was somebody told me, I feel like I'm in like this secret society. I'm in this circle that Kristina has put together that, she needs some help. And she called up and said, I need the best of the best that's here in Huntsville. And I think it's because of PRCA and SPRF that did that.
Right. No, that is definitely awesome. I love that you were able to get all the PR people in one room and get the best survey possible. That's normally how it goes, but I would like to kind of just pivot a little bit real quick to talk about from each of you, and Ginger, we'll go to you for this question. So what do you think, why is it so important for professionals to be involved, to attend meetings, and even, the SPERF conference? Kind of give us your perspective on that.
So despite the fact that I think probably between me, Kristina, and Kristie, we have 70 years of experience between us. How does that make you feel, girls? Feel good?
With not a wrinkle in sight.
Not, oh, well, please. no one does look as good as you. It's actually, there's like some weird fountain in your backyard. Anyway, so, but the point is that as much as we know, I also know that we don't know everything, and that we know that, right? I don't know all the things. Um, I know a lot of things, but I don't know all the things. And especially with technology and social media and AI, there's even more to learn now than I would say even in the last, like more now than I can ever remember. But you don't know everything. I don't care if you're getting ready to retire. There's still something else you can learn. And I always go into every conference or every presentation thinking, if I can just leave with one thing, that was a good meeting. Like I don't think I'm going to get 50 ideas. I just want one good one. Which sets the bar kind of low, but still good. And so, and I think I look for that one thing, which I think is also helpful. So I don't think I've only gone to, there's very few presentations that I walked out and went, oh, that was not really that great. Most of them are really good. I also say that as someone who speaks at these things too. So yes, a little biased. But it's important to interact with your colleagues. There's always going to be someone that knows something you don't know. And every person that you meet is potentially someone who can help you later, and that you can help them. Again, like I said, we don't say no. And especially when you get involved, it is kind of like what Kristina was saying. It is like this little club. I mean, it's not an exclusive club. It's not like you're not gonna let everybody else, in, but you get to know people, especially with because I mean, like y'all are all PRAL Central, you all know each other, and that's great. But to really get the opportunity to meet people in other parts of the country is really valuable, and you won't know that until you go. But there are people that I look forward to seeing every year at the SPURF conference, these ladies included. That as soon as you see them, you're like, oh, yep, this is where I see you, and this is and it's like you've never been apart. You just head to the bar or go get a cup of coffee and sit and chat. And those things, even if you don't talk about work, all of those interactions are valuable.
Kristie, do you have anything that you would like to add about that question as well? Oh, you're on mute.
I know, I'm muted. So, I was asked to serve by a friend in my PR association. She was putting together a communications committee for her nonprofit, American Cancer Society local chapter. We need a communications committee of volunteers because I have all these non-communication people who are making all these suggestions. I need somebody to help me put together a committee, mostly of other people from the PR association as well. And so, helped with the 5K, helped with promoting the programs. It was fine. I served on the communications committee. Well, then I walked into a job interview, and the job interview, I was told, this is going to be a 3-step process. You're going to interview with the panel, then you're going to interview with the boss, and then you're going to do this 3-step process. I walk in, the person on the panel is the board president of the American Cancer Society. So I got the job offer the next day. I didn't go through the 3-step process because he knew that I did what I said I was going to do and that I brought value to the table. That opportunity may not have arisen without that friendship and connection with a PR colleague. And so it's very easy to think, I want to build my career here, doing this job with these people. And if you want to build your network in Mississippi and Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, wherever you are, there are people who are like, I want to build my career here within 50 miles of my family, I want to be active in my alma mater. This is where I want my career. I don't want to have to leave for opportunity. Well, you don't have to. You can build a great career where you are planted. But it is up to you to take ownership of that career. Your boss isn't going to be as invested in your career as you are. So you need to identify opportunities to grow, to develop, to gain skills. And a PR association is a great way to do that. If you say, I want to get involved in event planning, all right, let's sign you up to help plan events. That may not be part of your job. That may be a skill that you're trying to grow. So you want to do more writing, you want to do more design, you want to do more creativity, whatever the skill that you want to build, you can build by being engaged in your PR association.
That's a great point, Kristie, is this is really the way to figure out what you get to learn, different things that you might not be able to experience in your day-to-day job. And going back to what you said, your boss isn't going to be that invested in your career. This is how you invest in yourself and give back to yourself and do that for your career. And I know we're hitting on that 10-minute mark for the Q&A. So I'm going to ask us to wrap up with just like one last question for you guys to briefly give me each. And Kristina, we'll start with you. What is your one piece of advice that you would give to anyone looking to get involved with their local public relations organization?
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I think all of us have that little bit of intimidation, scare. We see someone and you hear this amazing resume about this person. Guess what? That person puts on their pants one leg at a time like everybody else does. That my brother makes fun of me all the time. He was like, people think that you are so put together and all you're doing is laying on the couch watching Hallmark Channel. It's like, if they knew that about you, then they would look at you totally different. So if you're going to get involved in something, don't be afraid about the people who are there. They really do want to embrace you and help you as you continue to grow in your career, and just try something different. You know, the good thing about joining any kind of volunteer board is it's an opportunity for you to spread your wings in areas that you don't do every day. So it's okay for you to go and be treasurer, because guess what? You're not going to be treasurer of the company you work for, but it's okay for you to be treasurer of PRAL. So just try some different things and don't be afraid.
Awesome. Thank you, Kristina. Kristie, I'll let you take the next one. Go ahead for your piece of advice.
Well, and that's going back to serving as treasurer. I encourage people, especially when they're in school and they're like, oh, I'm going to be the PR committee chair for my sorority or my fraternity or this nonprofit. I'm always the PR person in my volunteer work. Well, maybe I want to be the secretary. Maybe I want to be the historian. Maybe I want to be the treasurer. I need to be able to talk business lingo. And so a lot of people get into public relations because they feel that they are good at some communication skill. You are a talented writer, you are a great designer, you are very creative, you can plan an event, you can come up with ideas, that you are very good at the tactical, technical skills. But you get promoted because you produce results. You get promoted because you can prove that you had an impact. So if you want to manage projects, if you want to become the leader, you need to be able to take that bigger perspective beyond what I produce with my hands, typing on my keyboard, working on with my art pencils, with my designs, and putting together a website. How does that impact my organization? The website that I create, how does it produce customers and simplify their customer journey? How does it get employees engaged? If you can tie those, to connect those dots, that's what gets you promoted. That's what gets you more budget, more resources, more staff. That's what gets you recruited for your next job.
Thank you. And then Ginger, I'll let you bring us home and what you think would be your one piece of advice for anyone looking to get
Well,
involved.
I would encourage everyone to get involved with their local association. You know, you start by going to meetings, and then you start asking questions, and then you join the board. But especially if you're someone who's starting out and you're trying to, you know, really pump up your resume, this is it's kind of an easy thing, not easy because there is work to do. But it's a really good thing to do, right? Not only will you be able to add that you're, you know, a member of a board, or even better, like, oh, and I highly recommend starting as treasurer, because none of us do math, so no one will know if you do it wrong. No one will be able to check you. And so, but it gives you that leadership thing that you can add, just for totally selfish reasons, that you can add to your resume. It also gives you experience that is valuable. And again, you're going to keep making those connections that are going to help you probably to the next thing. But like I said, especially if you're starting out, it's a really, really good thing to add. Um, and you'll get benefits from it too, right? Getting more involved with your organization, and then you probably will move on to the state level and then the SPERF level. And again, all of those things, just a lot of people look for that, especially again, like Kristie said, when you go meet with like the CEO when you're doing the interview, they're going to notice that you took the time, because not only do you get the leadership experience, but it also shows that you're willing to volunteer. Like there's really no downside to it.
Awesome. Thank you, Ginger. And thank you guys so much. We're going to reach out to them on LinkedIn or email, and we'll send out their contact info and a wrap-up email after the meeting as well.
Ask loud. And I think, yeah, so if anybody has any questions, like, these are great resources here for you today.
I have a question.
Right. Dirk is going to ask a question. Y'all let us know if you can't hear it.
You might be able to tell, but there's a lot of young people in this room. I think everyone in this room is younger than me, so that's how it goes. How does all of this translate? Into income? I think it's one thing to have career development. How does all of that development translate into raising one's income? I'm sure all these young people would like to know that they can make more money in their future. How will all of this help us do that?
Kristie, go ahead. Let you take it.
So, I am self-employed. I've been self-employed for over 20 years now. I can trace back nearly every one of my clients for 20 years from either direct work with PR people or referral from PR network. So whenever I have to write my dues, which I'm a member of PRSA, a couple of PRSA sections, I'm a member of PRAM, SPRF, I go to conferences, all that comes out of my pocket. But I know that it has generated more than 10 times that amount every year in revenue. And so to me, it's a no-brainer, because that investment pays off again and again and again. To medical school, to the health science center. I already had my master's degree. I already had my APR, and I already had a network. I already had media connections. I already had PR connections, doubled my salary. And I was recruited for that position. So I was recruited for that position because the people who were in the office knew me through my PR association. I have multiple stories. I could talk for the next 30 minutes
Yeah.
about how I was asked to speak at a conference. And then after that conference, I got 2 new clients. That's, I can tell those stories all day long.
I'd like to take a pass at that one from a, excuse me, from a corporate standpoint. You know, in the federal space and in industry, you know, it really is about the certifications that you have and the degrees that you have, because they can pay you more based off of how educated you are. Okay. So if you are involved in an organization that has a certification such as ours, if you are bettering yourself and you're going to these conferences, and to Kristie's point, if you're paying for it out of your pocket, or they see that you are being more involved in things, they may want to pay for it. So for example, I told my boss, you know, we were having a lot of generals and colonels come through a lot of times to look at different hardware that we have. And I said, I just don't feel confident in my protocol skills. I said, I really need to take some protocol training. And they were like, well, let's get you to the Protocol School of Washington and get that certification. So I think it is about, you know, when you really are putting yourself out there, they're going to think about how they can pour into you also. And so, yes, we do think about the money, but also know that the money is going to come the more active you are involved in your career and what you're doing professionally, and how you are able to tell people what you're doing. Because let's be honest, everybody who graduates from college in a with a PR degree, y'all are all on differentiate yourself between now and 10 years from now. So does that mean you're going to PR conferences? Does that mean you're involved in your local chapter? Does that mean you're getting your APR? You're going back to school to get your master's degree? All those things add up so that you can earn more money.
Well, and I would just add, like when I got my APR, I did it for myself, but I got thank you cards from a bunch of people here at the vet school because, and I can't believe it didn't occur to me, but I work with doctors. Doctors have certifications. So they understood the value of being certified in something. And I was like, oh, you understand what that means. Because they're all board certified in surgery, dermatology, whatever their specialty is. And I've seen that other places too. Like I put the APR like on everything. And people, if they don't know, they'll ask. And then when they hear that you're accredited, they're like, oh, wow. You know, and so it has value, even both monetarily and otherwise. But for me, and I think like what Kristina said, they think that like mine, I love that they think that I do social media and I do the website and I make pretty posters, which I do all those things. But yeah, it's a little more than that.
Definitely.
Been there.
Kristie, do you have something in?
Yeah, so in one of my jobs, every Tuesday morning, I took the photos and created the ID badges.
Oh.
So for everyone who
Mm.
worked at that organization, that's what they thought my job was. That was the only thing I did, was take Polaroid pictures to laminate onto their ID badges.
Yeah, that's true until like, you know, Channel 2 shows up and then everybody's hiding under their desk and you have to walk out front and you're a rock star. It's like, what are
oh
you gonna
wow,
do?
I didn't know you could do all that. I
Yep.
thought you just did ID badges. So ice cream parties to
ID
like
badges, posters,
stuffing
just
envelopes.
everything. Awesome.
Then that satellite truck pulls up out front and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, you do other things.
Well, I want to be cognizant of everyone's time, and I know we're about 5 minutes past the hour now. So, Sarah, I don't know if you have some words or anything you need to close up with, but I definitely want to thank Kristina, Ginger, and Kristie for being here today. And
Ask one more question.
go for it. Okay, go for it. Sorry.
Okay, can you talk about APR, like how you go about getting certified, or like what that process looks like?
Did y'all hear that?
The practicalities of it?
We'll let our senior statesman do that for us.
So,
Thinking
and
the exact same thing.
I'm speaking on accreditation on Monday to the PRAM state conference. So I kind of need to get this in my head anyway. So there are a wealth of free resources available to support guides. There's a practice exam that you can take on the PRSA website that we all contributed to. But the basic process is that you prepare, you study, you kind of get a grasp of what the material, you apply, you pay your fee, you get approved. From the moment that you take that step, you have a year to complete the process. You can get an extension, but that's why I always say prepare and get started before you apply. So the next step in the process is that you do a panel presentation. You do a panel presentation either in person or in Zoom, via Zoom or a virtual meeting, where you have filled out a questionnaire about your career and it's a questionnaire. So your panelists are accredited PR practitioners. That's all they really know about you, is what you've put on this questionnaire. In your questionnaire, you will talk through a project or a campaign that you've worked on. And then during your panel presentation, it takes about an hour or two. Then you present that plan. You go through your questionnaire. You have a conversation with the panelist. What they are looking for are 12 specific KSAs, knowledge, skills, and abilities, that cannot be assessed through like an online multiple choice exam. That's the next step. So the next step is after you advance from your panel, then you take this exam. I think it's about 3 hours, maybe a little bit more, online on your own computer with a live proctor monitoring you. For those of you who are in school, you're probably at where you can do it in a computer lab with a proctor in the room. We're piloting that out. And so the exam is very scenario based. You are the director of communications at a university, and you need to develop insights into a traffic situation. What's the first thing you do, or why would you do, which one of these would you do? So it's very scenario based, not what is Grunig's first name, or who is the father of PR. It's not those kind of questions. And there are specific KSAs that are developed, whether it's the 4-step process, ethics and law, business literacy. But so then after you take the exam, hopefully you pass, you get immediate notification, file for renewal every 3 years. And those are if you're involved, you're going to conferences, you're serving on boards, you're participating in webinars, that all counts toward your APR renewal. Which makes it a lifetime credential. That I would also encourage is that, for me, I've been accredited since 97. Some of you haven't, but but I work with clients and other people all over the country. If somebody has APR in their signature, to me, that's a shortcut, because I know that they think of PR like I think of PR, that they have gone through the same or a very similar process to earn their accreditation, and that we both have the same perspective as far as what these communication professionals bring to the table. And so for me, when I got the APR early in my career, even people who were not accredited in my PR organization recognized that I was going to be a serious practitioner, that I wasn't doing this to plan ice cream parties and make ID badges, or write flyers and brochures and news releases, that I wanted to do more with my career than those tactical things. And it worked out.
I will say too, that part of getting your accreditation and being, continuing that accreditation and renewing it is membership in an organization like PRAL, like SPRF. You have to be a member.
You heard her talk about there are 9 groups in that UAB. You have to be a member of one of those 9 groups to earn your accreditation.
And to maintain it.
And to maintain it.
So that's one of the really like, I forget who I think Kristina was the one who said it, like, to get that promotional piece, this certification that is offered through PRAL, through PRSA, that's the only way that you can get it. So that's one of the main benefits that we give our members. And I know for like, it kind of unlocked that new level of being a professor at a university, because it is considered an equivalent to like a further degree.
I wouldn't have gotten into a tenure track position as an educator had I not had that credential.
But
Sarah's our newest.
Yes, they're passing our new.
and while we're talking about it, I know that a couple of people have been interested. They've said that they want to go. Some people have started on their applications, or started on their questionnaires. But it's something like a study group, something like having a mentor or something like that. If you're interested in that, let us know. We've got a board chair specifically designated for accreditation. That was Micah. He was here earlier, but we had 9 o'clock, so I have to run out. But we have resources here to help you. I used a Quizlet that one of my friends from PRAL Baton Rouge sent me, and I'm happy to share that with anybody else. But so
I have books. I
we've
have
got books.
shortlist.
We can do
Kristie
Thank
said
you,
that.
Kristie.
we
Yeah.
have books. We have group.
Yeah.
So we can do all
So
kinds of
if
stuff.
you're interested, We can always talk shop on that. Just let
Yes, let us know.
us know.
Just raise a hand and we'll get you connected. But I don't know if we have any other questions, but Kristie, I'll send you the Quizlet. I'll send it your way. But yeah, so does anybody have any other questions? And like we said, we'll share their contact information if y'all are cool with it afterwards.
Again, we don't say no.
So we can build those connections and keep a conversation